What's going on, guys? I have been slacking really bad with getting videos out. I don't have an excuse. Well, I have one excuse, and it's that I may be purchasing a house, so there's been a lot of extra time and headspace filled up with the whole house thing. But I will tell you more details once it is a for sure. I'm not moving very far, but thankfully I'll have my own place, my own pole barn. Yeah, it's exciting. I'm going to update you where I'm at with cars, and then we'll move on to hopefully my 2 to 3 videos a week, different projects, different things like that. So blackout back, the last video you saw, I went to replace a cam gear in this thing and retime it, and I timed it incorrectly. I timed it 180 degrees off, which is easier than you think on this FB style motor. I should have paid more attention, but I also didn't know what to look for exactly. We retimed it. I think I have fixed the check engine light. I've driven it 3 or 4 times now, and it has not come back on. So that is exciting. I will need to do a few more things to this, like some idler pulleys, possibly brakes, clean it up, and then this one's going to go for sale. I was going to keep this one as a daily, but then I bought this one with rod knock, and I like these 08 through 9 Outbacks a lot better. So this one had rod knock. Motors are pretty expensive for these variable cam timing single overhead cam cars. So I found a long block that has a good short block, but the valves in the heads are bent. So I'm going to remove those cylinder heads. Then I'm going to put some cylinder heads on that I already got back from the machine shop. They're all cleaned up. We're going to throw it on that short block, and we're going to drop it in this car, and this will be my daily along with some of the other cars I've got. So that is where we're at with these 2 Outbacks. This car is still for sale. If it does not sell by the time I get to it, it's getting parted out. I have someone local interested in this one, and once again, if he does not buy it before I get to it, this one's going to get fixed and driven for a while and most likely sold. Then we've got the Woobaroo here, the Wu-Tang Subaru. This one is going to get a new motor, and the wrap will probably get pulled off. The yellow and the black is a wrap, but I have plans to drive this one for a little bit. I have also a line on another 08 STI that has a good motor but is crashed, and that car probably will get the motor pulled out and dropped in this Wu-Tang car, and then I'll part out the rest of that one. Sorry, there's a lot of information getting thrown around right now, but I'm just going to update you on all the cars, and then we'll get into working on our projects. This is my EJ20X swapped budget build STI. It's got cheap fender flares on it when I got it. It's got hail damage. This one we are lifting. I have the wheels and tires, which we probably will paint today or tomorrow. What's up, kitty? But we've got these gold wheels on just for the time being until we get the lift kit and the bigger tires on. But this one we're in the process of tuning as well, and I'm kind of waiting to finish tuning it until we put the bigger tires on, because when you put the bigger tires on, it puts more of a load on the car and you're actually going faster when you're doing a pull in 3rd gear. And I just want to take out any of those variables, tune it like this, then we should be good to go. My 19 STI is up for sale, completely stock on Marketplace. It's honestly a really bad time to sell, kind of in between holidays. It is December 8th today. Yes, December 8th. So before Christmas, after Thanksgiving, everybody's spending a lot of money. So that is where we're at with all of our projects. And like I said, we have put an offer on a house. It has been accepted. Inspections went well. Negotiations went well. And we are waiting on the well to get checked, the septic, and the drain field to get checked. And if those go well, estimated closing date, I believe, is the end of this month, December. So I'll, of course, update you guys as we go with that. And if we get it and we move in, I'll bring you along that journey. The barn is already built, but we're going to have to make a shop out of it. So I'll take you along that process. Yeah, lots going on. I got to get back on the video grind. Do you like the chickens? He's pretty annoying, isn't he? Me and my fiance have already decided when we get our own place and a barn, we're definitely getting 1, maybe 2 barn cats. So that'll be cool. We'll get kittens and see them grow up. I've got a bunch of parts in the barn right now that I need to put away. Things I just listed for sale. And then I've been writing my stuff to do on cardboard like this. I cut up a bunch of little cardboard things here because my brain is easily distracted. I'll start working on one thing, I'll look over, see another thing I was working on, move to that, move to the next thing, and then all of a sudden I am not getting anything done and I don't know what I'm doing. So I've been trying to keep better track with these things, but this is what we need to do. We just did this. We got to paint the wheels for the lifted STI. So these are 05 through 7 STI BBSs, and I've already kind of prepped them. I'll need to clean them. And then we went with aged copper. Not really sure if I'm going to like it, but this car is going to be abused, and I'm not really concerned about the paint job on this. I don't want to spend $400 on powder coating. I'll just spend 20 bucks on paint, and I'll be completely fine with it. We just drove the Outback again, and still no check engine light, so I'll cross that off the list. This is some doctor appointment I need to do, so paint the wheels, ship the ECU back. I had an access port that was still married to an ECU that was in a car that I sold to somebody. It's not a problem for the ECU, as you can just overwrite the software with another access port. But the access port I had was a paperweight if I couldn't unmarry it, and the owner was kind enough to send me the ECU back, and I got it unmarried. So now I'm going to send this back to him, and I'll probably throw a $20 bill in there or something. He was cool to work with, very easy to work with, and I appreciate that. I think we're all caught up to where we were on the last video, I think. But let's get started on some stuff. Yeah, I'm just trying to knock things out one by one. I have a tendency to kind of slack off sometimes, and so I'm trying to keep myself accountable, keep a list. Yeah, let's get rolling. We're going to do the ECU. I got to schedule my doctor appointment, and then I think we might be on to painting those wheels. I might do it while it's warm here the next couple days. Warm for Michigan in December. I think it's getting like the 40s and 50s maybe. So let's continue with that. So we got Jade with her phone set up, putting on the steering wheel cover. And then I am going to paint the lifted, well, soon to be lifted STI wheels. They are prepped, so I need to clean them and we can start painting them. I'll set it up on time lapse and see you after that. If you guys are still watching, I greatly appreciate it. This is a little bit longer of a video. It was kind of a bunch of different days put into one video, but I figured this would work out best. To prep these wheels, I used some Scotch-Brite and scuffed them up really good. Then I cleaned them all with brake clean and started by painting the rear of the wheels, then flipped them all around, moved to the front. I used some Uno cards to mask off the edge because I didn't want to see the bronze on the front of the tires. I'm no spray painting master, but I always try and start with 1 to 2 light coats and then do a third heavier coat to make sure that we get full coverage and then it's going to last a while. I only bought 2 cans of spray paint, but I realized at the end that I was going to need 3, so I went and bought a third. But when I went to go coat with that third can of paint, it looked a lot different. So I have been using all the same spray cans, but I did buy this one at a different time, and as you can see, it is a lot different than the rest. So I'm just going to do another coat with this darker color, which I actually like better than that. So I'm just going to go over, do another coat, and we should be good to go. Like I said, it actually ended up being better because I kind of didn't like how it turned out originally. It was a little pinkish, and the third can of paint was actually darker, more of a bronze, and I liked it. Now that the wheels are painted, we can cross it off the list, and we got to wait for them to cure. This is the time lapse of my fiance putting on the steering wheel cover on the 17 STI. It's a huge help that she's willing to work on stuff with me, so I greatly appreciate it. She did an awesome job. It turned out really good. So my fiance did a very good job on this steering wheel. I could not have done any better myself, but it looks so much better, feels so much better. Before it was all rough, kind of felt like sandpaper. I am very happy with how it came out. The wheels also came out very, very good. So hopefully those cured real nice and they last a while, but we'll find out, I guess. I am going to do the plug check, I should say, on my 2017 STI. Pulling the plugs out, going to try and read them to the best of my ability to make sure that all cylinders are equal air fuel ratio. We're not having an intake leak on one of these things or anything. That's all we're doing, and then we're going to go do a pull in this thing. I'll show you when I pop them all out so you can see what they look like, see if they all look the same. If they do, they're going back in and we'll be good to go. Hopefully they all match each other, they look good, and we'll be ready to go do a pull. Doing plugs on a Subaru are not as bad as people say. You just got to be a little patient. As I said, I'm no expert in reading spark plugs, but taking a look at these and watching a few videos, you can see it's sort of a light brown gray color. And from what I can find, that means it is running good. It is not rich, it is not lean, and all the other ones match just the same, which is a good thing. So we're going to toss these back in, get this thing back up and running, and we're going to go do a pull in it. And then this is the last pull on 93, and we're moving to E85. So when I assembled my 2017 STI, I kind of jerry-rigged a plug from one of the coolant ports on the water pump. You can see the port right there on this water pump and not on this one. This is the JDM water pump, and I ended up using a USDM water pump, and I had to plug this because there's nowhere for me to route it. And my makeshift plug shot out while I was idling in the driveway, so poured coolant everywhere, so I wasn't able to go do a pull in that. So I'm going to pull that thing in here, and I have decided I'm just gonna put the lift kit on, put the wheels and tires on, because I'm kind of sick of waiting around for it, and I can just do some more pulls after we get those big tires on. That's what I'm gonna start doing tonight. But yeah, we'll be able to see what the thing looks like lifted with wheels and tires. I love how the wheels turned out, so I'll show you those, of course. I'll show you the lift kit. It's really simple install. Pop the struts out, drop top spacers, pop the struts back in, and we're good to go. You guys are watching. I greatly appreciate it. You're helping me out. Yeah, I'd love to be able to do this on a larger scale someday, so this is me working towards it. I'm gonna get this thing on the lift so I can get the rest of the coolant drained. But as you can see, here's my makeshift plug that did not hold, and so it dumped all the coolant out. I thought I had started smelling coolant, so it must have started leaking. Then it eventually just shot out. Thankfully, it wasn't when I was doing a pull out in the middle of nowhere, so out in Mexico. I'll show you the lift kit here, but I'm gonna get this up first. So on top of also the lift kit, which I do already have for it, I also have 4 new used fender liners because these are cut. So I'm going to try and get those to work with the bigger tires and these fender flares so that we're not flinging mud everywhere, especially up into the engine bay and onto this intake right here. So I've got those. I also have a new window switch I got to put in. And then obviously the lift kit and the bigger wheels and tires. So I'm excited. Once I get this coolant drained, I'm going to lower it back down and I'm going to measure probably my clearance here. I don't know, just to see how much it gets a lift overall. I think that will be interesting to see. Take some pictures also, maybe of it sitting, and then afterwards also, just to have a visual difference. I always talk about how I like to do things right the first time, and this is why. So you can see the water pump outlet or inlet, not really sure. I think it's outlet right there. And then I've got this little 90-degree bend because it wouldn't fit because of this oil pump partial thing right here. There it is, and it popped out right there and dumped coolant everywhere. So I'm gonna order a silicone cap to go right there. It's gonna be probably a day or two because all the ones local are rubber and not silicone, and they will disintegrate over time, and I don't want to have to replace that, so I'm going to order a good one and do it right the second time so I don't have to do it a third time. Lift kit, very simple, very easy. These triangular ones go on the front struts right on top. These ones go on the rear. But yeah, let's start putting this on. It's really straightforward. Just going to be some jump clips. Yeah, that's it. While I've got the wheel off and the strut out, I'm going to do the fender liners on all 4 corners, and yeah, that'll be the extent of it. So let's get going. Kitty's out here keeping me company, trying to stay warm by the fire. We are lowered all the way. The lift arms are not supporting it. Let's do a measurement here. About 6 3/4 to the bottom of the bumper. It's hard to measure what the wheel gap difference is going to be. I guess I can go from here to the flare, but the wheels and tires are also going to be bigger, so that doesn't really make any sense. I just want to see how much more ground clearance that we're going to give ourselves with the bigger wheels and tires and the lift kit. Removal of these struts is really straightforward. We got brake line here we need to unbolt. ABS line you need to unclip. We've got a bolt here, a bolt there, and then we've got 3 bolts up top, and the whole strut comes out. I'm going to take the whole thing out so I can put these on and tighten them down as I should. So we're going to do all 4 corners. The rear is a little bit different. I need to take apart some of the trunk, but while we got the strut out, just to make it easier and give ourselves more room, we're going to pull all these fender liners that are chopped up, and we're going to replace them with the ones that we purchased. Same within the rears. I'll jump cut through some of this stuff. Once that is all done, then we are going to move on to making sure the wheels and tires fit on here with no rubbing, and we'll get everything bolted back up. I may have to loosen control arm bushings like that one, and then in the rear there's a lot more. I may have to loosen this one, might have to loosen this upper control arm a little bit so that the bushings will sway down so that we can fit the strut back in here. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to keep our sway bar and end links, but I will find out. Let's get rolling. Not a ton to it. I'll see you after all the clips. This upper bolt is a camber bolt, and it's used to adjust the camber on the, I guess, suspension. So if you want your alignment somewhat close to what it was before, I still would recommend getting an alignment, which I am going to do, but I'm going to mark on this bolt and on the strut with a paint marker. I'm gonna draw a line so that I know where to line it up when I put it back together. That way my alignment is close to what it was. Just like that, I put it on the hub, the strut, and the bolt. I'm gonna do it on the other side. I'm ready for all the short jokes in the comments. 1, 2, struts in the front of these Subarus are the easiest. The rears are a little bit more challenging. Let's go dig into those. Right under this thing, there's the 2 bolts right there and there for the top of the strut. Ugh. In order to let this section here sway down, I believe I have to remove this sway bar end link, so I'm gonna pop those out and hopefully that lets it swing a little bit more freely. Same on this side, obviously, but then we are close to getting this rear strut out, and we then can install the spacers, and we're getting close already. Now the lift kit does come with extra hardware because obviously with this spacer, the factory studs are not long enough to poke through. So you hammer these studs out and then you install the bolt up through here, thread it into the spacer until it pulls this nut down slightly into the spacer, and then that bolt will still stick up through the top, and then that's what you use to bolt it back to the car. So I'm going to see how this goes. They suggested putting some sort of socket underneath here so that you just don't have any tension when you're trying to hit it and the thing just flexes on you. So we'll see how this works. There's another one. They're not terrible, a little difficult, but not too bad. So I'm gonna knock the rest of these out. The rears should be basically the same thing, and then we'll get to installing. I'll just skip past the rest of knocking these out. All right, everything came out pretty easily, pretty simply. The front and rear has different size hardware, and I'm just gonna skip past this because I need to charge my phone. But basically, you slide these up in here like that, and then you're gonna put the spacer on, and you're gonna thread these in until it tightens all the way down on there, and this nut inside the spacer starts moving down into the spacer and tightens. There's directions on ADF's website, so it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You guys can figure it out if I can figure it out. So yeah, I probably should replace these struts too. As you can see, they're dry rotted, but this is a budget build STI, and just like you, unless you are somehow, I'm not made of money, and I also just bought a house, so I'm really not made of money right now. It's a budget. We're not gonna replace these struts. Maybe someday we'll actually do some coilovers for this thing that have more travel, but the budget build for right now. So I'm gonna knock this out and charge my phone, and then we're gonna do fender liners, and we'll get these things tossed in here. Like I said, ADF has instructions on their website that were very helpful. I would recommend going there. I always have good luck with their products. Lift kit all installed. I did decide I am going to put these rear spacers on as well. The more I thought about it, I'd rather have the car sit a little bit nose down than a little bit nose up, like it's sagging in the rear. I don't like how that looks, so I'm just gonna put those on. It's gonna make it harder to get those struts in, but I think that is the right choice. Overall, very easy install. One thing that I would suggest, a ratcheting wrench, 100% a need. I think I would have hurt myself if I didn't have one of these, so definitely have one of those. It was a 13 mil that I needed for the fronts and a 17 mil that I needed for the rears. Yeah, other than that, really easy install. Now it was time to swap out all the fender liners. I got these used from a part out guy, and unfortunately they weren't as nice as I wanted, but they are better than the ones I currently have. Now here I'm throwing the struts back in. They're pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Just do the opposite of what you did when you took them apart and you'll be good to go. All right, all the struts are in. Everything is tightened down. Now let's throw the wheels on. It is currently 11:15, I believe. Yeah, 11:20. Again, way later than I usually ever work. But let's toss these things on, see if they're gonna fit. I might pull it out if they do fit. There's no coolant in it, so we can't really go drive it. I'm not really sure. I'm just really tired at this point. Let's get these on, set it down. The suspension will have to settle, so it will sit higher when I initially set it down. but I think it's gonna look pretty good. So let's pop these boys on. I cannot express how happy I am how these turned out for just being spray painted. They turned out way better than I expected. I did already test mount these without the lift, so I do know that they fit. It's just if they're gonna rub. It's gonna be close. Gonna be close. But I love the color. I love the finish. This definitely opens me more towards being okay with painting wheels instead of having them powder coated, especially ones that I'm just gonna beat up anyways, or cheap ones that I just want to look different, because this was $45, maybe $50 to paint these versus $400 for powder coating. So it's a big difference, but I think those look sick. I'm gonna toss the rest of these on, set it down, just lightly torque them down, and then we'll actually set it down and we're gonna see how it's gonna sit. I'm hoping we get like this much wheel gap in between. I don't know, we'll see. I'm not really sure. I've only lifted one Subaru in my lifetime, and it was a bigger lift than this with bigger tires, so I don't know what kind of fitment this is going to be, but we'll find out. All right, I am loving how it's looking. Let's lower this thing down, check out what it's gonna look like on the ground. I'm gonna shut the hood and we'll lower it down. Like I said, it's gonna sit higher because the suspension won't settle yet, but it'll kind of give us a good idea. All right. Ooh, I like it. I like how it looks. The only thing I'm not sure on yet, let's see, how's our rear gap, front gap? Looks kind of similar. Definitely a lot more clearance underneath. The only thing I don't like is the spacing of the wheels with these flares. They could go out, man, a good amount yet, especially in the rear here, but I like how it sits. I'm gonna get the tape measure out. We'll measure again, see what the front bumper and the side skirt is. This is the part of builds that is fun. I don't know if this is really a build. It's just a lift kit and a wheel and tire setup, and then you know, a couple bolt-ons. It's not necessarily a build. I guess it kind of is, but this is the fun part of, you know, all the hard work is, I guess, paying off, and you get to reap the benefits of your labor. I sounded too smart, but let's see what this clearance is now. It should be roughly a 2-inch lift. I think it was 6 3/4 here, about 9 1/4 almost. Let's see if I can math correctly here. I'm homeschooled, so I'm not sure. 7 3/4 would be an inch. 8 3/4 would be 2 inches. So almost 2.5 inches. I think this was 6.5 here. Almost 2.5 inches. I don't care what anybody says. 2.5 inches is quite a bit for a lift kit. So there's nothing else to do except we got to fix that coolant leak, and we can start driving this thing again. I'm gonna swing the lift arms out, and I'm going to bed because I am very tired. And I'll see you guys in the morning. Unfortunately, we won't have a cap for this thing for the coolant leak. I'm gonna see if I can find one locally, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to. So I'll see you guys in the morning. If you're still watching, I appreciate it. Don't leave the video yet. All right, it is the next morning. We're gonna get this thing pulled out of here, and I'm gonna work on some other stuff today and edit some more videos, but we're gonna go park this outside and next to my 2019 STI, which is sitting down there, and that will be a good perspective, lifted versus stock. So let's get this thing out of here. It's hard to tell because it's downhill slightly, but it definitely sits higher. The thing that throws it off a little bit, I think the flares make this thing look like it's not as lifted as it is. I'm happy with how it looks. Overall, I am happy with how that car turned out. Of course, we have our coolant leak that I don't have the cap for, so we can't go drive it. But just turning around, I didn't hear any sort of rubbing, which is nice. I don't have to chop anything up. But yeah, you can definitely tell in the rear here, it's got quite a bit more ground clearance, which is really what we're looking for. Like I said, it doesn't actually give us any more suspension travel. It just gives us more ground clearance for this winter, and then for if you take it up to the dunes. Eventually, I'd love to do some coilovers, but that is more money than I would like to spend right now. We're going to keep it as is and hopefully have some fun with it. We've still got lots of projects, as you can see. So if you guys enjoyed this kind of stuff, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and you'll see more projects like this. If you made it all the way through, I greatly appreciate it. I hope you guys are getting your projects done.
Hope you're doing well in life, and I'll see you guys in the next video.